morning sunlight flooded through the tall windows of the Salt Lake City courthouse and streamed in long, golden streaks upon the polished wooden floor. Dust danced lazily in the beams, but nothing was serene about the room. It hung heavy, charged with tension so thick it almost pressed down on everyone present. Robyn sat rigidly on the bench beside Kody, her hands folded neatly in her lap, fingers drumming nervously against each other. She glanced at him, wanting to find reassurance in his stoic face, but all she found was a man bracing himself for a storm he can't control. Across the aisle, Christine leans back in her chair, her lips curling into the most minimal of smiles. She's composed, almost too composed, and her eyes are razor-sharp, alert with a secret she alone knows others will soon find out. Janelle and Meri sit near her, silent but tense, both lost in thought. Janelle clutches the edge of the bench. Meri's gaze is fixed forwards, hands tightly folded, jaw clenched. The wives were a mix of poise and silent panic, an uneasy balance of faith and suspicion that their relationships had built up over the years. The judge walks in, her robe flowing smoothly, her eyes scanning round the room with silent command. Her mere presence seems to heighten the tension, a reminder that this is not just a family matter. This is a legal arena, where words, evidence, and emotion collide. We are here to address allegations that strike at the heart of this family's dynamics, she begins, her voice calm yet commanding. We will proceed carefully, but thoroughly. Kody shifts slightly in his seat. His lawyer rises, voice steady, trying to project confidence in the face of growing tension. Your Honor, the claims brought against Mr. Brown are not only unfounded, but deeply personal. We ask the court to consider the motives behind these accusations and the long-standing dynamics of this family before passing judgment. Robyn exhales slowly, her chest tightening. She's heard whispers before, hints of disagreements, small disputes, but nothing on the scale that's about to unfold here. Christine rises for the first time, standing gracefully, despite a tremor in her hands. Your Honor, she begins, her voice both firm and tinged with emotion. The evidence speaks for itself. I am not here to tarnish a family name, but to uncover the truth, truths that have been hidden for too long. A murmur sweeps through the room. Reporters are scribbling furiously in their notebooks, cameras clicking. Even the other wives can feel the shift, a quiet, invisible pivot where past collides with present. The air feels charged with unspoken questions. Who will be believed? Who will be betrayed? And what secrets will finally come to light? The first witness is called, a family friend who has been close to the Browns for years. The person hesitates at first, glancing nervously around the room, but then begins to speak. I've witnessed arguments and confrontations that went far beyond ordinary family disagreements. The witness says in a voice low but clear, I saw tension and manipulation, things that no one outside the family would understand. Kody's attorney immediately cuts in, pointing out discrepancies, but the witness doesn't budge. Each utterance is made with such minute detail, heated arguments, whispered threats, and moments of betrayal. The courtroom leans in. Collectively, it is holding its breath, hanging on every word. Robyn's mind wanders to quiet mornings in the family's sprawling home, where smiles and laughter disguise tension. She recalls small comments that feel so differently significant now. Gestures she had passed off as insignificant. Janelle shoots a glance at Kody. Her eyes depict hurt and a mix of disbelief. Meri's jaw clenches, silent. The fire in her gaze speaks volumes. Christine gets up again, holding a thick folder that commands attention by the mere presence of it. She walks toward the judge as her heels click loudly on the wooden floor. Your Honor, this folder contains events in chronological order, financial documents, and personal correspondences, an entirely different reality than what has been portrayed publicly, she says, clear of any quiver. Papers shuffle. A few gasps can be heard from the audience. The room leans in, attracted to the tangible evidence of the betrayal and secrecy, now sitting before them. Kody shifts uncomfortably, breaking his usual calm facade. Your Honor, he says, voice strained. These documents don't tell the whole story. They omit context, intention, and the complexities of our family dynamic. I asked the court to look at the bigger picture, but the judge gives nothing away, her eyes fixed steadfastly on Christine. We will consider all evidence presented, she says firmly. It is the responsibility of this court to discern fact from interpretation. As the testimony continues, Robyn's emotions seesaw between fear, anger, and a great deal of disbelief. She reflects on her relationships with each of the other wives, the fragile alliances, the moments of jealousy, the shared responsibilities of raising a large family. Now, every memory feels layered with question marks. Could she have missed signs of betrayal? Could Kody have hidden truths from her? Finally, Janelle speaks, her voice quivering. I didn't realize how much was going on behind the scenes. I trusted we were all working toward the same family goal. Tears well up in her eyes, but she catches herself, trying not to break down completely, still holding on to some composure. Meri's hands clench in her lap. She says nothing, her presence telegraphing silent fury and incredulity. A sudden motion draws everyone's attention. Christine opens another folder to reveal a series of letters that none of the wives were expecting. These are communications that directly contradict the statements by Mr. Brown and others in the family, she says, her voice firm. The judge leans forward slightly, the first visible sign of intrigue. Cameras flash, porters murmur, and the wives exchange stunned glances. The weight of reality hits Robyn like an avalanche. Every letter, every testimony, erodes the solid ground of the world she knew. Kody watches her, his eyes bathed in a mixture of guilt and determination, trying wordlessly to assure her that he can explain it all. But words alone seem so insufficient as the grim courtroom air tightens. The session would continue with testimonies revealing hidden conflicts, discrepancies in finances, and other emotional manipulations. Every story feels like a dagger to the heart, exposing cracks in relationships so painstakingly maintained over the years. Each new revelation adds to the gravity in the air, and even the personnel in the courtroom cannot but shift uncomfortably, feeling the tension build with the unfolding drama. At last, the judge orders a brief recess. The families slowly stand, pale-faced, their hearts racing. Whispers are in the hall outside the courtroom, crowding with reporters wanting reactions, but the wives silently walk out, lost in their thoughts. Finally, Robyn breaks the silence with a whispered question to Kody. How did it come to this? Her voice is trembling with all the shades of vulnerability and raw emotion that have surrounded her for years. Christine lingers behind, observing them from a distance. A subtle, enigmatic smile plays on her lips, a mix of satisfaction and regret. The truth needed to be told, she says under her breath. And now, the real storm is about to begin. As they leave, it is as if the weight of anticipation presses down like a stone upon their chests. Every eye in the room set upon them, every whispered word promising revelations yet to come. Outside, the sun feels harsh, casting stark shadows that mirror the dark truths now exposed. Robyn's mind races with questions. Kody struggles for composure, and Christine knows the next session will push everyone further to the edge. The camera lingers on the family as they go into the hallway. Anxiety, fear, and silent understanding passing among them. The session closes, leaving viewers hanging, hearts pounding, eager to see how the next chapter of this intense courtroom drama will unfold. The courtroom reconvenes after the morning recess, and it's anything but serene. All eyes are on Kody as he readjusts his tie slowly, the nervous tick that gives lie to the cool exterior. Robyn sits next to him, her hands clasped tight, her knuckles white, her heart beating rapidly. The letters Christine read earlier still echo in their minds, words etched in memory, accusations far deeper than any spoken argument. Christine rises, her folder in hand like a weapon, poised to strike. "Your Honor," she begins, voice steady, but carrying a tremor of emotion. "The timeline of events that I've compiled shows patterns of manipulation that cannot be ignored. This isn't about petty disagreements. This is about trust broken over years. Decisions made behind the backs of those who matter most." The judge leans forward, fingers steepled. "Continue, Miss Christine." Christine takes a deep breath, her eyes scanning the wives, lingering on Robyn and Kody. "I'm going to read excerpts from messages and correspondences that are indicative of decisions made that affected the entire family without transparency, without honesty. These are actions beyond personal choices that affect lives, emotions, and futures. First, the following is read aloud. An email exchange that reveals a secret financial decision Kody made months earlier. Robyn's eyes widen as she hears the details. Her chest tightens, and a rush of heat floods her face. She suspected something was amiss, but never imagined the scale. Janelle squeezes Meri's hand briefly, both struggling not to cry. Christine continues, producing photos, receipts, and screenshots. With each piece of evidence, the picture of calculated secrecy is painted with small lies heaped together to form a larger deception. The courtroom leans in, reporters scribbling frantically. Tension is palpable. Every witness, every word, every glance adds fuel to the fire. Kody's counsel stands up, his voice strained but modulated. "Your Honor, these documents do not provide the full context. There are explanations for each and every action, reasons that have been overlooked. The court must consider intent and not mere words." Christine shakes her head, her tone firmer this time. "Intentions are irrelevant when the outcome hurts those you declare you love. Actions speak louder than apologies, and the evidence cannot be denied." Robyn feels the prick of tears at the corners of her eyes. She looks at Kody, hoping for some kind of reaction, some semblance of regret, or an explanation that would make any sense of this chaos. But his face is closed off, a wall that she cannot breach. The sense of betrayal that washes over her is multiplied by fear of what this could mean for her family, the tricky balance they have fought so desperately to maintain. They call a surprise witness, a relative who had always been close to the family, above suspicion of disloyalty. The witness steps up, voice shaking slightly, and proclaims, "I have seen things which nobody else will believe, decisions made behind closed doors, words spoken that eroded trust, and moments where family unity was intentionally fractured." The courtroom is quiet, but for the slight rustling of papers. Each wife feels the sting of this revelation. Janelle's lip quivers as she says in a hushed tone, "I can't believe it. How could this happen?" Meri finally speaks, her voice low but edged with steel. "We trusted him, all of us. And now, everything feels like a lie." Her gaze locks on Kody, unflinching. Christine lays down the final piece of evidence, a recording of a conversation that had been kept secret from the wives. The recording reveals not just deception, but subtle manipulation. The tone in Kody's voice, the careful wording, the decisions made without consultation, all are exposed. Robyn covers her mouth with her hand, shock visible in her eyes. Janelle leans forward, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her chest. Even Christine takes a deep breath, knowing the impact of her revelations. The judge frowns, furrowing her brow, and then turns to the evidence. It's clear that this case is more complex than initially presented, she says. We will need to examine each piece carefully. Outside the courtroom, whispers echo. Reporters speculate, spectators murmur, and the wives sit in stunned silence. The weight of the session presses on them. Each woman is wrestling with her feelings, anger, heartbreak, denial. Robyn's mind races with questions. How long has this been going on? Was Kody ever honest with her? Could she have done something differently? A sudden confrontation occurs in the middle of the session between Christine and Robyn. Voices rise, barely restrained, emotions spilling over. You don't understand what it's like to be left in the dark, Robyn cries. We trusted him. We trusted you. Christine's eyes flash with defiance and pain. I'm not the one hiding the truth. I'm the one exposing it, whether you like it or not. The room appears to shrink around them, the air electric with raw emotion. The judge raises a hand for order, but the tension does not break. Every word, every glance, every subtle expression is a battle in and of itself. At the close of the session, the judge declares a recess, but says, prior to that, we have additional evidence in our hands that will warrant an immediate review. This might affect the course this case is taking quite dramatically. The wives leave the courtroom in silence, their hearts heavy. Outside, the sunlight seems harsher, shadows sharper. Each woman processes the events differently. Robyn clutches Kody's arm, seeking answers he may not be ready to give. Janelle whispers to herself, tears streaming silently. Meri walks with a purposeful gait, her mind racing with plans and judgments. Christine lingers, watching them leave, a complex mix of satisfaction, regret, and anticipation in her eyes. The weight of the courtroom feels heavier than ever as Session 3 commences. Anticipation hangs in the air, so that every creak in the floor, every rustling of papers is amplified. Kody sits stiffly, hands clasped in front of him, his jaw hard. Robyn leans forward, elbows to her knees, her eyes darting nervously between Kody and Christine. The letters, emails, and recordings from the last session still smolder fresh within their minds. Each revelation etching deeper into the fissures of their fragile family dynamics. Christine rises again, calmly, yet with a lot of deliberation in her voice, laced with quiet intensity which demands attention. Your Honor, there is more to be revealed. What has been presented so far barely scratches the surface of the choices made behind closed doors. Choices that have impacted every member of this family, emotionally, financially, and socially. The judge nods, slightly leaning forward. Proceed, Miss. Christine takes a deep breath and calls the surprise witness from the last session to the stand. This relative, previously considered trustworthy and neutral, starts telling incidents that nobody was anticipating. Eyewitness discussions that affected the family's finances, the children, and personal relationships. The witness explains, I saw alliances formed in secrecy, conversations meant to manipulate, and actions designed to divide. The courtroom collectively exhales. Even the reporters stop typing for a moment, sensing the gravity of the revelations. Janelle's lips tremble as she whispers under her breath. I can't believe it. Robyn's hands grip the edge of the bench, nails digging into the wood. Meri's face is unreadable, but her eyes flash with silent anger. The witness continues, producing a series of emails and messages exchanged between family members and outside advisors. The content exposes not just personal betrayals, but calculated decisions made in secrecy. Christine reads excerpts aloud, her tone alternating between calm and sharp, highlighting each deception. These decisions were not mistakes. They were deliberate, and they affected every person in this family. Kody's attorney stands up and objects to some of the testimony. Your Honor, these are interpretations, not facts. The context is missing, and assumptions have been made without complete evidence. Christine's tone is sharp but measured. The facts are in front of you, clearly documented. Context cannot erase the consequences of those actions. Robyn's chest tightens as she remembers times in the past, where casual conversations now seem to be weighted with secret meanings. Decisions she had agreed upon automatically now seem to be personal acts of betrayal. Janelle's voice shakes as she recounts her own experiences of being kept in the dark, taut words betraying both pain and incredulity. Meri, often silent and shy, finally manages words. All the time we blindly trusted him, and the truth was hidden from us. How are we to move on? The courtroom is tense as Christine presents audio recordings, moments of conversations between Kody and various advisors. Each recording exposes manipulative undertones, evasive language, and subtle tactics that contributed to distrust. Robyn covers her mouth with her hand, struggling to process what she's hearing. Janelle shifts uncomfortably in her seat, her tears welling. Even Christine pauses, taking a deep breath to steady herself, letting the weight of the courtroom's collective shock hang in the air. The tension escalates as Robyn finally rises, her voice shaking but firm. Kody, how could you let this happen? How could things be decided for all of us without even telling anyone? Her words hung sharp and accusatory in the air. Kody's expression hardened, his lips pursed in a thin line. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came. Christine watches in silence, her eyes filled with both satisfaction and anticipation. She knows this confrontation is just what the court needs to bring out the truth in its entirety. Your Honor, what's being brought out here is not just about hidden actions, but accountability, integrity, and the emotional well-being of the whole family, she says, voice firm but tinged with emotion. The judge leaned back and scanned the courtroom. It is obvious that the evidence brought forth brings into question many issues regarding trust, intent, and transparency. We will have to go over these findings more closely, but one thing for sure, the family has suffered emotionally. And then, out of the blue, comes a shocker. A letter, written in confidence to the court from a person previously thought to be impartial, a mediator involved in the family's private matters. It insinuated a hidden alliance, someone working behind the scenes to influence decisions and manipulate outcomes. The courtroom starts to murmur. Whispers spread like wildfire. The wives looked at each other with shock. Robyn's eyes grew wide. Janelle gasped softly, while Meri's jaw clamped shut, her silence emblematic of silent rage. Christine's lips curl into the tiniest, most mysterious smile, knowing that this revelation would change everything. The wives' tension rises as they grapple with this new information. Robyn's eyes flash with anger and hurt and confusion. She looks to Kody as if demanding answers without speaking. Janelle leans over and whispers to Meri, "How could anyone betray all of us like this?" Meri does not respond, but her hostile silence speaks volumes of anger and intent. Kody finally breaks his silence. His voice is low but firm, trying to explain the complexity of his choices. I never intended for this to hurt anyone. I made decisions thinking it was best for the family. His words hang in the air, met with disbelief and a cascade of emotions from his wives. Robyn's eyes fill with tears. "Best for the family?" she asks, voice shaking. "How could you think secrecy and deception are in our family's best interest?" Christine remains calm, her eyes flashing. Intentions do not erase damages done, and actions have consequences, while the truth cannot be concealed. The session fills with tearful testimony from each wife, revealing personal heartbreak, fear, and anger. Each of their narratives, intertwined and built onto the evidence presented, was like a tapestry of tension that imprisoned the courtroom. Every glance, every whispered word, every pause contributed to suspense, leaving everyone on edge. As the session draws to a close, the judge reveals that new evidence has come in and needs to be examined before the next session. "This case is far from over," she says. "The next session will delve even deeper into the motives, alliances, and secrets that have defined this family." The room is thick with tension, almost uncomfortably so, as session 4 begins. The disclosures from the last session have left each of the family members on edge, and today promises to push even harder. Kody sits stiffly, hands clasped in his lap, darting his eyes nervously between his wives. Robyn leans forward, shoulders hunched, her mind racing with questions she doesn't yet have the answers to. Janelle wipes at her tears, trying to hold her composure in check, while Meri sits stiff, her jaw clenched, every muscle taut in restrained fury. Across the aisle, Christine's eyes are sharp and unwavering, a calculated calm masking the storm that she has unleashed. The judge calls the court to order. Her gaze sweeps the room, her eyes commanding respect in silent tones. "We will continue to examine the evidence presented and hear additional testimony that may shed light on the alliances, intentions, and decisions that have impacted this family." Christine stands up, folder in her hand, voice even, but with an undercurrent of emotion. "Your Honor, what has been brought before the court so far barely scratches the surface. There is more. Communications, financial records, personal correspondences, all showing deliberate manipulation and betrayals no one could imagine. First, there are a series of emails between Kody and a close advisor that the wives had not previously seen. In these emails, matters of their finances, living arrangements, and family priorities are discussed sans Robyn, Janelle, and Meri. Robyn's hands shake as she listens to the details. This is a heavy betrayal, one that hits almost physically, like a punch to the chest. Janelle leans in, voice cracking, telling her own stories of being left out of important decisions. "I trusted we were all in this together," she says, barely above a whisper. "But every choice made without me, it feels like I don't even belong in my own family." Tears glisten in her eyes. Meri says nothing, but the tension emanating from her body says it all. Her presence is enough to communicate anger, hurt, and incredulity. Christine lays down the next piece of evidence, a series of voice recordings of conversations that capture not only deceit, but active manipulation. Kody's words, carefully chosen, expose attempts to influence outcomes, maintain control, and subtly pit one wife against another. Robyn covers her mouth with her hand as shock makes her breath catch. Janelle closes her eyes briefly, leaning back as if to shield herself from the sting of truth. It's like a pressure cooker in the courtroom, as emotions rise, almost palpable, as wives are faced with the grim reality of what has been done. Finally, Robyn stands, her voice trembling but firm. "Kody, how could you make these decisions without even consulting us? This isn't about finances or arrangements. It's about trust, respect, and honesty. Her words echo in the room in anger and heartbreak. Kody's face tightens. He opens his mouth to defend himself but falters, unsure how to explain a pattern of behavior that's been laid bare for everyone to see. I thought I was protecting the family, he murmurs, but the words fall flat, heavy with unintended consequences. Christine keeps all calm, yet flashes in her eyes. Protection does not require deception. Actions have consequences, and the emotional damage caused cannot be ignored. Her tone is both accusatory and unflinching, leaving no room for excuses. The next witness is called, outside of the family circle, but deeply embedded as an advisor to Kody. It is explosive testimony. Hidden alliances, secret agreements, and manipulative tactics are exposed. The courtroom gasps. Robyn's eyes widen in a mixture of shock and anger. Janelle gasps softly, and Meri's hands clench into fists. Christine watches, nearly silently, knowing full well that the weight of the testimony will further fracture the delicate balance between the wives and Kody. As the session wears on, emotions reach a fever pitch. Robyn breaks down, tears streaming openly, her raw vulnerability confronting Kody. "I don't even know who you are anymore," she says, voice shaking. "The person I loved, I don't recognize him. How could you do this to us?" Janelle says her own emotional restraint shatters, sobs escaping as she recounts her feelings of exclusion and hurt. Meri finally speaks, voice low and sharp. "We were all blind, trusting blindly, and now we see the truth. The games, the manipulations, the betrayals." Christine remains composed, but even she can feel the collective angst of the courtroom. "The truth isn't easy to hear," she says quietly, almost to herself. "But it's necessary. And it cannot be ignored." The judge stops abruptly, looking somewhat taken aback by the session's intensity. "It's plain that these revelations have far-reaching emotional consequences," she says. "We must proceed with due care to every piece of evidence and account for each perspective before we can reach a conclusion." The session concludes with a shocking turn of events, as a previously hidden document is presented that suggests someone outside this family was leading the way, subtly encouraging deception and division. The wives exchange shocked gazes. Their faces are etched with disbelief. Robyn clutches Kody's arm. Janelle buries her face in her hands, and Meri's eyes burn with silent determination. Christine watches quietly, her lips curled into a small, knowing smirk. The game is far from over. The wives leave the courtroom in silence, each lost in their thoughts. Outside, the sun feels almost too bright compared to the shadows that have filled their hearts. Robyn looks at Kody, and her face folds into a mixture of sorrow and anger. "How can we ever trust again?" she whispers, to which Kody says nothing. The silence speaks volumes of guilt and uncertainty. Christine lingers behind, watching the family leave. Her eyes are sharp, calculating, satisfied, knowing she has set the stage for even more explosive revelations in the next session. The tension is not resolved, and instead leaves viewers desperate to see what will happen when these hidden alliances and manipulations come fully into the light. Session 5 begins, and the courtroom is charged with an almost unbearable tension. Every glance, every whisper, every subtle gesture seems to take on a different dimension in the air thick with anticipation. Kody sits rigidly, his fingers together tightly in front of him, bracing his jaw against what's about to hit. Robyn leans forward, elbows on her knees, her heart racing in fear and anger. Janelle wipes tears from her cheeks, nearly unable to hold back. While Meri's eyes blaze with quiet fury, held in only by her composure, Christine sits opposite, always calculated, prepared with her folder of evidence, her eyes sharp and unwavering. The judge calls the court to order. In a calm yet firm voice, she says, "We will continue to examine evidence and hear testimony that may shed light upon outstanding questions about decisions, alliances, and undisclosed communications." Christine stands up, a hint of triumph in her voice. "Your Honor, what has been presented thus far exposes only part of the truth. There are further communications, undisclosed meetings, and deliberate actions that show the depth of manipulation within this family." She opens her folder and spreads a series of documents, emails, recordings, financial statements, that no one had seen or knew about. The courtroom leans forward en masse. Reporters scramble to scribble notes, the audience in the room holding its collective breath. Robyn's eyes widen in disbelief as the documents detail new alliances, new decisions made without her knowledge. The first witness is then called, someone who had been on the periphery of the family, but had access to their private communications. It was explosive. There were hidden agreements, secret strategies, and carefully orchestrated manipulations. With each statement, another layer of deception is peeled back, leaving the wives in stunned silence. Robyn rises, her voice trembling but resolute. "Kody, how could you make these decisions without telling us? How could you hide this from the people who trusted you the most?" Her words reverberate through the courtroom, sharp and raw with emotion. Kody opens his mouth to respond, but the weight of the evidence leaves him momentarily speechless. His usual confidence falters under the scrutiny of the wives and the court. I thought I was protecting the family," he murmurs, voice low. "I didn't realize the consequences would be this profound." Christine watches intently, her face serene, but her eyes gleaming with the intensity of one who knows the truth is unfolding just exactly as she planned. "Protection does not call for deception," she says firmly. "Intentions cannot erase the impact of actions that have hurt the very people that you said you loved." As each wife describes her personal feelings of betrayal, the session becomes increasingly emotionally charged. Janelle's voice breaks as she relates moments she had considered private, but were manipulated by unseen forces. Meri breaks her silence, her words sharp and deliberate. "We were deceived, manipulated, and left powerless, and now the truth is finally here." A new piece of evidence is introduced, a private letter from an external advisor who had been secretly influencing family decisions. The contents are shocking, suggesting that the betrayals were not solely the result of internal conflicts, but were orchestrated by an outside influence as well. The courtroom gasps. Robyn clutches Kody's arm, Janelle buries her face in her hands, and Meri's stare is unyielding. Christine remains composed, a faint smirk betraying her satisfaction at the chaos she has helped bring into the open. The judge pauses, looking taken aback by the layers of deception now exposed. "This case is far more complex than previously thought," she says. "The evidence shows hidden alliances and influences from outside have greatly impacted the dynamics among family members. We will have to consider the implications carefully." The session reaches its climax as Robyn finally confronts Kody directly, tears streaming down her face. "I trusted you with everything," she says, voice shaking. "And now, I don't even know if I'm able to trust anything anymore." Janelle sobs softly beside her, mirroring Robyn's pain. Meri's voice cuts through in a low, sharp tone. "Trust was shattered long ago, and now we see the full extent of the deception. We have to decide what comes next. Christine, calm but searing in her intensity, delivers her closing statement for the session. The truth has been revealed, the evidence laid bare, and the emotional toll cannot be understated. But the final reckoning is yet to come, and it will determine the fate of this family. The judge closes the session, and the courtroom is left in stunned silence. Each of the wives leaves the courtroom with anger, heartbreak, disbelief, and fear for what's to come. Outside, the sunlight feels harsh, the shadows stretching out long, like something also in the family.